The shuttle doors opened with a quiet mechanical sigh, the kind that made it sound like the ship itself regretted the situation. Two tall guards with long, elegant ears stood waiting for me. One of them gestured forward with a glowing spear. "Move." "Good morning to you too," I said, stepping onto the polished floor. "Lovely planet. Terrible welcome committee." Neither guard reacted. Tough crowd. They escorted me through a corridor that seemed to stretch forever. Floating lights drifted slowly above us like lazy stars, and silent drones slid along the walls, scanning everything, including me. One of them paused in front of my face for an uncomfortable amount of time. "If that thing takes my picture," I muttered, "I want a copy. My mother will never believe this." The drone beeped and flew away. We entered a massive chamber filled with tall figures wearing silver robes. Every single one of them had those long ears rising slightly above their heads like elegant antennae. They all stared at me the way scientists stare at a bug that has somehow learned to walk upright. At the far end of the hall, the Queen sat on a hovering platform made of liquid-looking metal. She leaned slightly forward, studying me with calm silver eyes. One advisor whispered, "The human specimen appears smaller than expected." "Hey!" I said automatically. "I can hear you." The whispering stopped instantly. A thin alien stepped forward holding a glowing device. "Your Majesty, the translation unit is ready." The Queen spoke, her voice smooth and measured in a language I knew very well. "Begin the translation. Ask the human why he interfered with royal communications." The translator activated the device and looked at me nervously. Before he could speak, I rubbed my forehead. "You know," I said in their language, "this whole translation step seems unnecessary." The device slipped out of the translator's hands and hit the floor. Clack. The entire court froze. The Queen slowly stood from her throne. "You," she said carefully, "speak our language." "Well," I replied, shrugging, "I learned from your transmissions, mostly from a show about three sisters fighting over a starship captain. Great drama, terrible science." No one moved. One guard whispered, "Did the human just insult Imperial Broadcasting?" I smiled politely. "Oh good," I said. "You understood that part." For several seconds no one spoke. It was the kind of silence that makes you suddenly aware of your breathing and question every life decision that brought you there. The Queen slowly stepped down from the floating platform. Her long ears tilted slightly forward as she approached. "You understand our language," she said. "Fluently," I answered, "though I'm still confused why your word for future tense also means possibly exploding tomorrow. That seems unnecessarily stressful." A few members of the court gasped. One advisor whispered, "The human criticizes the imperial language." I raised a hand. "Constructive criticism." The Queen stopped a few steps in front of me, studying my face carefully. "How did you learn it?" "That's a slightly embarrassing story." "Speak." "Well," I said, rubbing the back of my neck, "a few years ago I was repairing an old satellite. Suddenly I started picking up strange transmissions from deep space. I thought it was some kind of alien radio station." The court exchanged confused looks. "So I started recording them," I continued. "Then I tried translating them. At first I thought it was military communication. Turned out it was a drama series." The translator leaned toward an advisor. "He means the Royal Entertainment Channel." "Yes," I said, pointing at him. "That one. The show with the three sisters fighting over the captain of the battle cruiser." A guard muttered, "That show is historically inaccurate." "Exactly," I said. "Finally someone understands." The Queen's ears twitched slightly. "You learned our language from our entertainment broadcasts?" "And the advertisements," I added. "Your toothpaste commercial is extremely aggressive." Someone in the court coughed loudly. The Queen walked slowly around me, clearly thinking. "You intercepted restricted royal transmissions," she said. "Technically, yes." "You translated them." "Yes." "You understood them." "Yes." "And you continued listening." I nodded. In my defense, the captain eventually marries the wrong sister and it becomes a political disaster. I had to know how it ended. The court stared at me as if I had just confessed to studying nuclear physics through cooking shows. The queen finally stopped in front of me again. Then very quietly she asked, "How many of our broadcasts have you heard?" I thought about it. All 6 seasons. The Royal Council argued for 3 hours. I know because a floating clock drone kept projecting the time above the table like it was enjoying the chaos. Advisors spoke over each other, guards whispered, and one elderly minister repeated the phrase security catastrophe at least 12 times. I sat quietly at the end of the table. Eventually the queen raised her hand. Silence dropped instantly. "The question is simple," she said. "This human understands our language. What should be done with him?" The tall military commander spoke first. "Memory extraction. Then return him to his planet." Another advisor shook his head. "Impossible. His knowledge of our culture is already too deep." I raised a finger. "Yes, human?" the queen asked. "I'd like to point out that I'm sitting right here while you debate my brain." The commander glared at me. "You should remain silent." "I tried that earlier," I replied. No one seemed comfortable. A few younger advisors hid smiles. The queen leaned back slightly, watching me. "You spent years listening to our broadcasts," she said. "Why?" "Honestly, yes. I was lonely," I said. "Fixing satellites alone in orbit gets boring. Your people argued, laughed, made bad decisions. It sounded a lot like home." The council fell quiet. The queen studied me for a long moment. "You see us as people." "Well," I said, "people with longer ears and questionable television writing. But yes." One advisor muttered, "The captain choosing the second sister made narrative sense." "No, it didn't," I replied instantly. The queen suddenly laughed. It echoed across the chamber and shocked everyone into silence. When she finished, she spoke calmly. "This human will not be erased." The commander stiffened. "Your Majesty, he will remain," she continued, "as the first official translator between our worlds." Every head turned toward me. I blinked. "Wait," I said. "You're offering me a job?" "You understand our words," the queen said. "But more importantly, you understand our humor. That's a very low diplomatic standard." "Perhaps," she replied, "but it is a useful one." The council slowly accepted the decision. As the meeting ended, the queen walked beside me toward the exit. "You are no longer a prisoner," she said. "That's good," I replied, "because prison food across galaxies is probably terrible." Her ears tilted slightly toward me. "Human," she said, "you may have just changed the future of 2 civilizations." I shrugged. "Honestly," I said, "I was just trying to watch the final episode."